Premium quality football shirts at an extremely affordable price. Sound good? If so, check out the sponsor of today's video, jerseyfifa.com. You can see that I've sent you some shirts and they really are top quality, so make sure to click the link in the description to go find a shirt for yourself or perhaps as a gift for someone else. And you can now use code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. That's code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. I really do recommend their product, so go take a look. Now let's get into the analysis. So if you've been listening to reports over the past couple of weeks, you would have seen that United are reportedly getting closer and closer to appointing Erik as their next manager, and that's really sped up this week. Now, whilst there is a lot of optimism amongst fans, I think it's important to remember that this is going to be a tough job for Ten Hag, and he'll need time to get success with this team, but there are a few things that he could do sooner rather than later. So the first issue for Ten Hag is to solve is the goalkeeper situation. And to be honest, this is arguably the most controversial part of the squad for some reason, with the fan base very much divided between De Gea FC and Henderson FC. Now this year it is the De Gea backers that have been the happier, with De Gea really returning to absolute top form in the shot stopping department, and at times this season he really has kept United in certain matches with his saves. However, for all the good saves that he makes, there is no hiding the fact that De Gea is detrimental to Manchester United's play in possession, and that's simply because he isn't very confident or very capable when the ball is at his feet. Now this is one of the main reasons that a lot of fans are so keen for Dean Henderson to come into the first team and become the side's number one, as well as the fact that he's extremely proactive in the way that he looks to sweep up behind the defence. Now, whilst I do think that Henderson is better than De Gea with the ball at his feet, I'm still not too sure that he is really at the level that Ten Hag will want, as he looks to implement his possession-based style on the team next season. Now, from Dean Henderson's point of view, he is at the age where he needs to be playing regular football week in, week out, and if he isn't able to secure a spot at the number one goalkeeper, then I think it is time that he moves away from the club and finds a new team. Especially when you consider the fact that this is a World Cup year, and Henderson will feel that if he can get regular game time this year, then he'll have every opportunity to gain a spot in Southgate's squad as the third choice goalkeeper. Now ultimately I think that the best solution for Manchester United is for them to dip into the transfer market in an attempt to find a goalkeeper that is proactive when sweeping, whilst also possessing the ability to play the ball out from the back. And I will have a video looking at a few different goalkeepers coming to the channel soon, so make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss that video or any of the other Manchester United based content that is coming to the channel very soon. But for now, I do think United will prioritise other positions in the transfer window, so in the short term, Ten Hag needs to decide who his number one goalkeeper is going to be to build a solid foundation at the back for the team to build from. Continuing with building the play from the back, Ten Hag has also got some pretty big decisions to make at the heart of the defence, and at centre back in particular, and I think it's pretty fair to say that there's a lot of question marks over Harry Maguire. One of the things that has increased the pressure on Maguire is the responsibility of being captain, and this is something else that Ten Hag needs to address. He needs to find his main man to wear the armband and really lead the team going forward. However, Maguire's problems may go further than this, because as well as losing captaincy of the team, he could also lose his position in the starting 11, with both Varane and Lindelof seemingly suiting Ten Hag's system a lot more. So what do I mean by suiting Ten Hag's system better? Well, Ten Hag likes his side to build possession from the back even when they are being put under intense pressure, whilst out of possession he likes his team to squeeze high and play a high line. So we'll start with the high line, and I think everyone is of the opinion that Harry Maguire simply isn't quick enough to play a high line, and this could make him a huge vulnerable weak point in any sort of Erik Ten Hag system with this high line in place. Maguire could also be targeted in possession as well, because whilst he is good on the ball, he isn't great when being put under pressure, and again teams could use him as a pressing trigger to press high and win the ball back in some really dangerous areas. Now, whilst there are clear negatives, there is always the other side of the coin, and with Ten Hag liking his sides to dominate possession, Maguire does look like a good fit for the team, due to his comfort on the ball and ability to progress the play from the middle third. Ultimately, I'm glad it isn't me that has to make this decision, but I know that a lot of Manchester United fans want Maguire to be sold from the club, but I honestly don't see this happening, but this doesn't mean that he won't be replaced in the team. Again, I will have a video on that coming soon, and I'll be having a look at 3 or 4 left-footed centre-backs who could come into the side, but again it is an issue that Ten Hag needs to solve sooner rather than later. Now, once Ten Hag has made these big decisions in goal and at centre-back, the next step for him will be to finally develop a playing identity for this Manchester United team, something that they haven't had for far too many years. So the word philosophy seems to be thrown about a lot in football these days, but to put it really simply, it is essentially the way that the manager thinks football should be played, and how the manager feels the team should go about achieving their goals. For example, Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid has a clear philosophy where he asks his team to play with the mindset of keeping things tight at the back, whilst also disrupting the play to stop the opposition ever really getting into a rhythm. Whereas someone like Guardiola approaches things in a very different way, believing that his team should always have the ball as this restricts the chances of the opposition scoring. Now that is an extremely simplified breakdown to give you an idea of what philosophy is. But Erik ten Hag's footballing philosophy is certainly more like Pep Guardiola's, and we've seen this implemented during his time at Ajax, although it has certainly been helped by the fact that Van der Sar is involved in a lot of decisions. Now, it isn't exactly an easy job to go onto a new club and implement a completely new philosophy, and it will be made harder by the fact that Ten Hag will be backed by people like the Glazers rather than someone like Edwin van der Sar. But if Ten Hag is able to implement his ideas at Manchester United, then we could see the team becoming very possession orientated, with a focus on dominating the ball before then quickly flicking the switch to cut the opposition defence open. In terms of out of possession, Ten Hag will want this Manchester United team to commit to the press extremely high up the pitch, with the aim of regaining possession as soon as possible to once again allow the team to dominate the ball. Now, as I said, this will be one of the biggest challenges that Erik ten Hag will face at the club, but if anyone is able to steer Manchester United in the right direction, then I do genuinely believe that Erik ten Hag is the man for that job. Now, there are things that Ten Hag could do to help this rebuild, and one thing that Ten Hag desperately needs to address is the lack of holding midfielder, or pivot, currently at the club, and this really is key. At Ajax, Edson Alvarez has become a key man at the heart of the midfield, and it's his footballing intelligence that has essentially allowed him to operate as Erik ten Hag's left-hand man on the pitch to get his messages across to the players. Now, I don't mean any offence by this, but Manchester United simply don't have a player who can do this at the club at the moment, with both Fred and McTominay lacking the footballing IQ to really orchestrate the team from these deeper areas. The one player who could perform this sort of role is Nemanja Matic, but again, if rumours and reports are to be believed, then it does look as though Matic will be leaving the club in the summer, so Ten Hag needs to find a new player. Someone who can really come into the team and act as the Fabinho or Rodri in this Manchester United side, because over the past few years, we've seen how important these types of players are in the Premier League, but why is it so key? Well, the reason that this position is so key in the Premier League and for Ten Hag's teams is because they tend to get the most touches of the ball, which ultimately means that they really have a large say on the tempo that a match is played at. With this in mind, I'm sure that Ten Hag would love to find a player who could come into a team and play this sort of role in the side, to get plenty of touches of the ball in the centre, from where they then need to try and progress the play forwards. Ultimately, that is why Erik ten Hag has to find a player to play this role as the holding midfielder, because they really are the heartbeat for the team, and if they can't play Ten Hag's style, then the whole team will ultimately fail. Personally, I think that any manager coming into Manchester United would need to bring a new holding midfielder into the club, but it's something that Ten Hag in particular really needs to, and he has to address this season. Now, we've got 4 problems out of the way, and if things have gone well, United will have a consistent goalkeeper, a pair of centre-backs who fit the system, and a real clear playing identity being led by an elite holding midfielder. But there is one more issue, and that is the winger crisis currently at the club, with Jadon Sancho currently the only winger at the club who is really putting in performances anywhere near the level that United require. Now, United actually signed Sancho to solve their issues on the right hand side, but that hasn't happened, with Sancho having more luck on the left. So again, one of the things that Ten Hag needs to decide is where Sancho should play to get the best out of him. Once that is dealt with, there is a much bigger issue for Ten Hag to solve, and that is what to do with the struggling Marcus Rashford, whose form this season really has been below par, resulting in a lack of game time as a result. Personally, I think Rashford is someone that I would put under the bracket of being a confidence player, and I think that if Ten Hag can get him enjoying his football again, then there is no reason why he can't find success as he has done in the past. However, this does once again raise the issue of what side to play the wingers on, with Rashford and Sancho both preferring the left hand side, and while Sancho could be shifted right, this does look like quite a difficult situation to solve. If Ten Hag decides that the balance isn't good enough, then I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him dipping into a transfer market to bring a new right winger into the club, perhaps someone like Antony, who he has of course worked with during his time at Ajax. Now, this is something that I've discussed on the channel in the past, and if you go to my channel page then you'll be able to find it, but as well as those 5 players, there is also a host of other names that continue to be linked to Manchester United. Personally, I'm really intrigued to see who Ten Hag is going to bring into the club, because as we've seen during the video, there are clearly a lot of problems that need to be addressed, but personally I think that we've looked at the 5 things that really should be prioritised this summer. If Ten Hag can get things right in the summer, then he could well be on his way to building something special at Manchester United. But I think the most important thing is that he is backed by the club and given support from the fans. And speaking of that, I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.